Hey, I'm Jordan from MissJordanJean.com, and today I'm going to show you how I brew kombucha. There are so many different ways to brew kombucha, so this is just how I have chosen to do it and what's worked for me over the past few years that I've been brewing. We typically drink kombucha, my family does, in the warmer months, and so it's starting to warm up and it's time for me to get it brewing again. A couple things. There's an awesome resource on YouTube called You Brew Kombucha. You can look up her channel. She has tons of really valuable information if you are looking for some more in-depth information than just a quick, simple how to brew it. This book is also incredible, the kombucha book. I flip to it often in dog ear pages and stuff, and it has lots of information about how to do continuous brews, how to do more flavors, how to do blah, blah, blah. There's all sorts of information. And then I learned a lot of what I know from my good friend, Mariah, who teaches me tons of stuff. So I think there's lots of different ways to learn how to brew, but if you want to learn how to get started, I can help you do that. So a few things that you need with the way I do it. I use a French press to brew my loose leaf tea. You can also use tea bags, black tea bags. This is the black tea that I use. It's English breakfast tea from Anthony's, just organic English breakfast tea. You can get this on Amazon. I'll put the links below to stuff that can be linked. And then you'll need a glass bowl, and you will need a SCOBY, which is in this jar right here. And wow, my SCOBY is really big. You'll need a SCOBY and some starter tea, which if you don't have some and you can't get some from a friend, I would go to the Fermentaholics website. They have really reasonable prices on a bag of organic SCOBY with starter tea in it. So the SCOBY is like a bunch of cultures that collect like yeast and stuff from all around your house and from your air, and then ferment the tea. So kombucha is fermented tea. The other thing you will need, what was I just thinking? Oh, sugar. I use organic cane sugar from Costco. You can use whatever sugar you want, but you'll need a cup of sugar and I guess a wooden spoon to stir. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing you need to do is brew your tea. I use 3 tablespoons of, like I said, loose leaf black tea. You can also use 4 to 6 tea bags and do it exactly the same way. Although you wouldn't need a French press if you were using tea bags. You could just do it in a, some sort of vessel. And then I just fill this up, fill the French press up, and you're just making a tea concentrate because you are gonna add cold water to your gallon jar after it brews. And then I let this sit for 15 minutes and do other things. And after 15 minutes, we will press it. Okay, while you're waiting for it to brew, you can get your SCOBY and your starter tea ready. So you're just gonna reach in with clean hands and take your SCOBY out of your jar or your bag, or like if you got a bag of starter tea and a SCOBY. This is what a SCOBY looks like. They're just layers and layers of this organism, and you can actually peel them apart when they get too big. Like, I'm gonna peel the top layer off this one just because it kind of got dried out on me. Anyway, and you can just toss it. So you're gonna take your SCOBY out of the jar, and then you're gonna put 2 cups of starter tea in this bowl as well. I need to cut my SCOBY a little bit because it's too big to get out of this jar. It's been sitting for a long time, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my SCOBYs in a bowl. By the way, if your SCOBY gets too big, you can always cut it. You won't hurt it. And then you're going to take 2 or so cups of what we call starter tea, which is just the really concentrated fermented tea from your previous brew, essentially, off the top. You want to do it before you stir anything because you're trying to take kind of the best parts of it. I'm going to do a little more than 2 cups here. By the way, I'm just showing you how to do what's called the first brew. So this is the first fermentation, and then after this ferments for a few weeks, we'll do a second fermentation. We'll pour it into bottles and flavor it, and then you ferment those another couple weeks, and you start a new batch in this jar. But I'm just showing you how to do the first one. Okay, now you are going to take your a fresh, clean gallon-sized jar, and you're going to add a cup of sugar. Again, I use organic cane sugar, which you can get really reasonably at Costco. And then you're going to press the tea concentrate that you made and dump that in. Woo. And then I'm going to stir it around till all the sugar dissolves. Okay, then you're going to fill your jar with clean, filtered water. You don't want chlorine in it because it will kill the cultures. I fill it with about this much headspace at the top because I've got to put my starter tea and my SCOBY back on top. The reason that I do the tea concentrate and then fill the rest of the jar with cool water is because your liquid has to be less than 100 degrees in order for you to be able to put the SCOBY and the starter tea back in, or you'll kill your SCOBY. So make sure you do not ever put your SCOBY into really hot water. But usually if you add cold water, like fill up the rest of your gallon with cold water, that is plenty of coldness, and you'll get your temperature down to under 100 degrees pretty easily. And then this is the easy part. You're just going to take your SCOBY out of your bowl and drop them in there. They might sink, they might float, it doesn't matter. But the SCOBY is what's going to ferment your tea. And then I'm putting a few in there. You only need one SCOBY, but I had a few that I could use, so I'll just put them in there. And then you just take your starter tea and fill the rest of your jar with the starter tea goodness. And then you take, I don't recommend using cheesecloth because the holes are too big and you'll get fruit flies in your kombucha. And if you get a fruit fly in your kombucha, you have to toss it and start all over, which is also a good reason to keep a couple SCOBYs on reserve in a jar somewhere with some starter tea. But anyway, I just put a dish towel over the top and a rubber band, and then you'll let this sit for, well, it depends on the temperature of your kitchen and kind of the season you're in. Mine usually sits for a couple weeks to ferment. But sometimes it only takes like 7 days, 5 days, like in the middle of summer, it ferments pretty quickly. You just want to keep it out of direct sunlight in a warmish, like not a cool spot, just like a normal temperate spot of your house. My SCOBYs are, let's see what's happening. Some of them are floating and some of them are sinking. But after a few days, you can look and see, and you'll see a ring form around the top. That's a new SCOBY. So every brew forms a new SCOBY, which is super fun. And you can eventually toss your old SCOBYs, or you can keep them in what's called a SCOBY hotel, which is just SCOBYs and a bunch of like super fermented tea. But you can also just throw your old SCOBYs away and just use the new SCOBY for your next batch. And that is it. So I'm going to set this guy over here for the next couple weeks, and when you can taste it after a week or so, just stick a straw down the side, like underneath the SCOBY, and taste it and see if it's fermented enough for you. If it's still too sweet, leave it a little bit longer. And when it's the right sourness for me and our family, I will dump it into bottles, like flip cap bottles, flavor it, and then we'll do the second fermentation. If this was helpful to you, or if you like this video, like and subscribe. I post whenever I have something new to tell you. So if you don't want to miss a new video, then like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.